He's not a bat, he's a man who fights crime. And we're gonna watch him fight for a minute at a time. With John and Niall and a guest who doesn't rhyme. It's Bat Minute!
Attention, citizens of Fair Gotham, and welcome once more to Bat Minute and Robin, the show that delivers the heat 3 days a week. I am one of your hosts, John Parker.
And here, with his spirits deflating like a behemoth being robbed of venom, it's me, Niall McGowan.
Got to make sure Niall has his venom, a.k.a.
I
beer.
like my venom first thing in the morning.
Much like me with beer. I am Jason Statham in Hobbs and Shaw. And
I think this should be a thing in like the Harley Quinn TV show where Bane getting up in the morning and he just hasn't had his venom yet. And he's just like, I'm just not myself. I haven't had my venom.
He's got a little mug that says, like, don't speak to me till I've had my venom.
Yeah, perfect. That's exactly the kind of thing they would do in that show.
Yeah, why not? It would fit the tone. It would fit the tone of this movie.
Actually, the hell, we can just do that as a t-shirt, actually. We can just draw that right now.
There it is.
So, yeah.
Well, get on it. As you can hear, listeners, we are joined by two titans, very much like Hobbs and Shaw, very much like Bane and another Bane. We have, all the way from TMNT Minute, it's Adam and Rachel.
Hello there.
Hey, thank you for joining us.
Oops, all Banes.
Yeah.
It's so easy to say Bane and Ivy. Like, there's like, oh, Adam and Rachel, Bane and Ivy.
But Ivy's not a titan. Technically, in DC terms, none of those are titans. That's a different thing. But we are here to talk about minute 109. The minute starts with a dirty fighter, and it ends with an icy crash landing.
Always have to ask guys, straight up so we can kind of gauge the guests' opinions going in because Batman and Robin is so divisive.
Yeah, we want to know where you're coming from on this so we know how to
adjust what do you actually make of this movie?
It's not good.
Yeah, I'm surprised that this is divisive because this is objectively a bad movie, in my opinion.
You're in the majority, but I think the majority are wrong. It's fine. It's a great movie.
Oh, man.
I mean, it's sort of the equivalent of eating like a gallon tub of Skittles. Like, it's kind of fun, but you feel terrible afterwards.
There's no nutritional value to this movie.
Absolutely.
That's the perfect way of putting it. Yeah. It's candy.
Yeah. But here, so we begin of this minute. We come back into Michael Paul Chan here shouting out, "Dirty fighter, dirty fighter!"
Oh, that angered me immediately.
It's like, who is he talking to? Because like if he's saying someone's a dirty fighter against Batman, Batman's thing is like he turns out the lights in a room and grabs you from behind. Like he's not like bowing towards you and like, okay, let's keep things on the mat and stuff. Like he does whatever he needs to do to win.
Yeah, there's no referee in this fight. This is a no holds barred street match. This
is gonna be some guy over there, sweep the leg freeze.
Yeah.
And he's like, I don't know if I can do that.
So Mr. Freeze to be in the new season of Cobra Kai.
Oh, dude. There's Arnie in the new season of Cobra Kai.
Yeah, I mean,
actually.
Arnie's still in shape, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, if there ever was a movie where a bunch of referees come running in from off screen, it would be this one.
It's so baffling a line as well. It's a fight not only for their own lives, but Batman and Freeze, they're both fighting for their life. It's a fight for the life of the whole city. Yeah. I don't care if someone's fighting dirty or clean. It doesn't make a difference.
That's what I would expect them to do. Freeze to go like, all right, sorry, start over. Okay, Batman, you go back there.
Back to positions.
Unless they are talking about Batman, they're just like, that Batman's a real dirty fighter. Like, he's all hopping around. Like, there was no, honorable put up your dukes and let's like, a couple of people. It's like, no, he was literally using all friggin' bag of tricks against this guy.
I suppose, though, he was trained by the Japanese, so people expect him to have honor.
Yeah. Although that's the thing, though. Do these people know?
No.
that about that, because that's the thing in the novelization. What they really stress is that Michael Jan Friedman had a whole big thing, particularly during the ball sequence where Batman and Robin are there, and he was just like taking that out. It's just going to be that they're in disguise in the crowd. Because his whole thing is just like Batman is supposed to be like an urban legend. He is like a creature of the night that no one's sure if he even exists and stuff. And at this point, like when the observatory people see him in the book, they're like, "What the hell? He's real!" Like, and they're probably when they have to talk to him, they're like, "I thought my cousin said he saw like a thing he thought was you one time, but we didn't even think that you were actually a real thing. Like, we thought you were made up."
That reminds me, I forget what Simpsons episode it is, but Homer is seeing a therapist, and then Marge comes in and talks about Bart, and the therapist is like, "There really is a Bart?"
Oh, yeah. Good Lord.
Oh, that's amazing. He's like well known to everyone.
It feels like a punch-up line, but it feels like a punch-up line that was done in the ADR booth.
Yeah.
Like, this is a very, very late addition to the script.
Yeah. It really reminds me of have you guys ever seen Stop Making Sense?
Yes.
The Talking Heads concert movie.
A masterpiece.
Oh, great film. But at one point, people infamously remember it because David Byrne, lead singer, goes off, changes into a giant suit at one point. And he obviously needs time to do that. So
Well, he
what
needs
they do in the
diamonds
movie
to power it.
That'd be great. They had to go off do a quick robbery in between sets. But no. So when he goes off to do that, the Tom Tom Club play, and the Tom Tom Club is just Talking Heads without David Byrne, and they do the song "Genius of Love," which actually is a really good song. But in the live rendition, the drummer Chris Franz, this must haunt him to this day because he's just shouting out random crap.
Yeah.
So the song's enjoyable, and he's going like, "Who that? Who that? Now who that try to be bad? You mother!"
Yeah.
James Brown, he is the godfather of soul, y'all. So check it. And it's like, dude, shut. Because he's just like this little pudgy like white guy in a Lacoste t-shirt, and you're like, dude, shut up. Like, what are you doing? This is so embarrassing. Why would you think this was cool?
You're just not cool now. You don't get it.
But the thing, if I met him, I'd be like, all I would think about was like, why were you shouting those things? And when you had the opportunity to take that out in editing, why didn't you?
Right.
But it reminded me of this, where it's just like, oh, you guys just improvise some dialogue down there, and this was the best they could come up with. And it's like, that's just kind of cringy and embarrassing.
Of all the things to not ADR over.
Yeah, I don't know. They feel like a kids movie would have this, but we've never needed this in a Batman film. Like, he's had plenty of fights where it's just been music and atmosphere. And
I have another question as well. There's a sound that happens immediately after. Is Freeze just grunting, or does he say gulp?
I didn't catch that. I don't think.
It sounds like he goes gulp, but it could just be like.
Just some random Arnie noises.
Yeah, that's kind of his thing. So it could be.
That was a whole day of the ADR booth. It's like, all right, Arnie, we just need you to do a bunch of grunts and garbles.
He's just there for hours. Like, yeah.
And we'll just use it wherever we need him. But we've got him.
Yeah.
I reckon he's got like a bank of sounds for all of his movies. So when you hire him, he does like the close-ups and things. But then for all of that kind of stuff, you just get given some files. And you slot them in where you want. Yeah.
It's got 120 tracks. Each one is him doing a different noise.
Yeah.
That turned out to be the CD-ROM that Barbara deciphered earlier in the movie.
Yeah.
Oh my God, what is this? And this. It's like, Uncle Alfred, why do you have this? You never know when you might need it, Master Barbara.
Don't go into those. Those are my special files.
Well,
That's actually, I don't think we ever came across it, because obviously Alfred always calls Bruce Master Bruce, and Dick is Master Dick. But he never refers to, I guess, Barbara's family, so he wouldn't have to address her so formally. But would it be like Mistress Barbara? Or what is the decorum there?
Because she wouldn't be lady.
Lady Barbara.
Maybe.
No, she wouldn't be though, would she? Because wouldn't that be the lady of the house?
Well, if she were a granted the title of lady. Like,
so what would it be?
If the queen, what I know it's knighted for men. Is it damed for ladies. I don't know.
But I think like because the master thing is like that's usually just that's like in place of Mister. It's for people who were younger because I used to get like posting Master Niall McGann when I was like 12 or something.
Because of all those fancy balls you went to. Okay.
But yeah, so I think that's it's quite endearing that Alfred does it to Bruce because it's like he still thinks of him as a little kid and stuff, so he always refers to him as Master Bruce. And it's just so with Barbara, I guess you might just call her it's Barbara again, just call her because it's my niece or whatever.
Just calls her Babs.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of what Jeffrey from Fresh Prince said.
Master Will, I think.
Yeah, but what did he say to the women or the young women of the household?
Probably
It
Miss.
must be Miss or Miss.
Yeah.
That seems far that's sexist. Women haven't got a special thing.
Yeah.
It's like, we'll just use the generic for women. It's fine.
So you could
They
say
don't need a
mistress
thing.
because I know in Doctor Who
Mistress
when they
works
had
too.
yeah, because in Doctor Who they had like the Master, and then when he's regenerated into a woman, it turned to the Mistress. So,
Mistress
but then,
also has like a kind of a nefarious connotation.
that's
to
the
it,
thing,
too.
yeah. It sounds like this is your piece on the side, almost like this is the Mistress,
Yeah.
It's 2022. We need a genderless butler
Yes.
superlative, or
Yeah.
I don't know what you call that. Greeting.
Is it superlative? I don't remember.
Well, any butlers listening, I want you to come up with one for me. I'm non-binary, so there you go. Perfect.
Yeah.
Come up with one for me.
Most illustrious unicorn?
I mean, that's the greatest thing I've ever heard. So that's yeah.
Am I you? So am I Mew?
You. I mean, I do have a title, which is on all of my stuff, which is Mix MX.
I thought that was just your mixtape that you were constantly trying to flog to people.
That's my MIX.
Oh,
Yeah, that's the
I'm
other thing I
assuming
post
mistake,
about. Yeah. They're the only two things I ever post about on social media.
Because you guys obviously would have had to have dealt with a lot of ninja activity on
Yeah,
your show.
yeah.
But I think me and John come across action scenes. We always are a little bit stuck because it's like, it's just Batman's hopping around, and this is always. We never know what to say. I know other movies by Menace hosts they will literally analyze each blow.
Well,
But
we have
kinda
Chris
go to
for
it.
that. Chris is our martial arts expert.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But
We
see,
let him
you've
just
got
kinda take it.
moderately acceptable martial arts in at least one of those movies.
At least
Sure.
one. Yes.
As good as you can do while dressed like that. Whereas
I
we
was-
don't really have that level here.
I will say, as far as getting off topic, your episode of season 3 of TMNT Minute is my favorite because we talked about the movie the least amount.
Yeah.
And I quite like the movie. So, but here, okay, so they're still fighting. They're brawling. Let's cut to something slightly more interesting. We then see Bane choking the life out of both Robin and Batgirl at once,
Ugh.
which I thought that's cool. Finally, Bane is doing something really kick-ass.
It's a good setup that men immediately
Gets ruined, yeah.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
it immediately deflates, pun intended.
Oh.
So it's
Uh,
yeah, it got me thinking though, because like you obviously know all the history of Batman and Bane. It's quite infamous. So Bane's whole connection to Batman, although in many ways you were like not really this version of Bane because this
Yeah.
character basically isn't Bane.
Right.
But I was just thinking of like any time Bane ran into Batgirl, and I know the biggest one I can think of is in very recent memory, 2014. Although that's nearly 10 years ago now, I guess. But they did have Batgirl's Future's End, which was like a one-shot, wherein Barbara Gordon got married, and then on the day, like the night of her wedding, her brother James Gordon, who's of course like a rampaging villain himself, shows up, kills her husband, and then Barbara's just like, the hell with this. She goes off the deep end and starts this whole campaign of like, I'm gonna do what Batman won't do, and she goes like deep undercover into like the criminal world where she like becomes like the Riddler's mall for a bit so she can take down the
Whoa.
Riddler permanently. There's one panel which was like, this is a whole story unto itself, where it seems like she's seducing Man-Bat. Like, Man-Bat's there and she's doing like a kind of like her hands coming in with a kind of come hither thing, and it's like, this is deep undercover. You'd be like, yeah, I gotta go like shag Man-Bat. That's part of my whole
That's
campaign. That's
That's a problem. That's a problem right there. 'cause
That's like
Wasn't
a-
that a
furry.
whole plot point in the animated version of The Killing Joke? Like, Babs and Batman have a relationship.
Oh yeah, infamously so. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I remember being excited about this movie because I love Batgirl. I've always loved
yeah.
Batgirl. But they did her so dirty in this movie.
Oh, so were you like as a the part of the target demographic for this version of Batgirl?
Yeah,
you were geared up for this.
I wanted to see Batgirl in a movie, and this is not what I signed up for.
Eventually, then she decides like I need to go even further. Goes and finds Bane so she can train with him to become like the ultimate fighter. And she keeps going, and Bane keeps knocking the crap out of her. But over the time, because they're together for like a long time, he grows to think of her like as his daughter, basically, because they go out and do loads of stuff together. Eventually, then he's just like, why are you so obsessed with beating me? Like, it's not gonna happen. And then eventually, she's like, I don't want to beat you. I want to be you. And then he's like, well, to be me, you have to take the venom.
To be the man, you gotta beat the man.
Yeah.
Oh,
But that cuts back to then years later, back in Gotham, Barbara is on the launched a whole anti-criminal campaign as Bete Noir, which means like the black bear. Although Total Betty, which is all, it seemed to me it sounds like you're saying like Betty Noir, makes me think of Clueless. Come on, I don't know if that was a deliberate thing, but
also I'm thinking
and the name Betty Noir sounds like a Batman girlfriend.
yeah,
Like it's up there with Vicky Vale and
or a goth rock band.
Plus, in my
yeah,
head, all I'm doing is singing, "Whoa, Black Betty."
that's the only song they do.
The things we see Barbara, she is like ripped. She is Bane sized. And she's got like a Bane mask on, but with bat ears, because she's kind of, joining the two. And then Bane shows up. He's obviously still a bad guy. So he's like, well, I'm going to have to come and destroy your city now. I hope you understand. And so when he does, he takes her up then to like the spot where her husband was killed. And it's just like, this whole thing's like, well, you keep wanting to, to see if you can become me. And, this is how far you have to push yourself. And she's like, yeah, I know. I don't want to become you. I just wanted to see what you're obviously the ultimate foe. So if I can beat you, like, I know you're going to psychologically try to defeat me. And I need to see what that worst thing you could do to me would be. And so now that I know, I can get over it. And hey, I could beat you the whole time. And she turns around. And she's like, by the way, I never took the venom. So it turns out she's that ripped. She's like the size of a house just by herself and stuff.
Oh.
It's like, and Bane's just like, oh, fair enough. Like he's kind of impressed by it, and then that was the end of the one shot. And I was like, oh, it's an odd story of just like this kind of tale from Gail Simone, and did a lot of Batgirl stuff.
Love Gail Simone.
Yeah.
But her whole spin on like, well, what if you just drove Batgirl over the edge? What would she become? And it's like, well, it turns out she would be like the ultimate hero, pretty much. And I also thought too, like two things that would link Batgirl and Bane would be, of course, we talked earlier in the season about Bane's beloved teddy bear Osito that he had when he was growing up. And then fans of the Batman animated series might recall that Barbara Gordon had her teddy bear Whoopi. Who was frequently popped up. She'd always she needed someone to bounce off on the show, obviously, because you can't have like an inner monologue, I guess. So she'd always be talking to Whoopi, the one-eyed teddy bear on her bed. And then you find out that like Jim Gordon loves this bear even more than she does. Like she's like, you always bring Whoopi to the airport when you come to collect me and stuff. He's like, well, I thought you'd like them.
No,
I kind of wish there was a scene here where she's just like, don't save my teddy bear. And Bane's like, why did you say that? But here we go though. In terms of the movie, just sort of like. Just kind of crap in the bed a little bit. It's just like
I will say this: the only good special effects in this movie are both of Bane's transition scenes.
Yeah,
They went full Wolfman with him in like the craziest way. Like and I also don't know if it would have been funny if they had done his deflation scene as just the same special effects of him being inflated, but just reversed.
Just reverse it.
That wouldn't be like outside the realms of possibility for this film. just reverse the footage. It's fine.
Yeah, well, we've got it. We've got him going one way. We
I-
could just do it the
I
other way.
Don't remember where it is, but there is a clear moment in this movie where they just reverse the film.
It's Robin coming out of the water, yeah?
Yeah. Yeah.
The thing is that him deflating isn't so much my issue. It's how they get to it, because they're just like, okay, this guy's got us. He's going to kill us. Knock out that tube. And then when they do it, it's like a gust of wind.
Yeah.
Like, if you boiled a kettle near that thing, the
Yeah.
steam would cause that tube to fall out. It's like, that is ridiculous that it doesn't seem like it was fitted at all.
You would think if that's where your, I don't know, fluid is coming from, that would be a more protected valve.
Yeah, get some armor around that thing.
It
Or,
should
you
be
know,
properly screwed into his head.
Yeah.
it
Like
should
have
be-
a gasket on it, or like one of those little, like,
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm trying
He
to
might
say.
as well
I
have
could
had a.
defeat this guy.
It also might as well have been a big blinking red light, like a
Yeah.
Star Fox boss.
Yeah.
Attack here to deal extra
Yeah.
damage.
Or a Zelda boss. Like, I just got the bow and arrow and that thing has a giant eye. I wonder.
Yeah.
Well, actually, literally 15 minutes before recording today, I just for the 5 millionth time completed the game Mass Effect 2.
Oh.
And that
Nice.
literally ends with the same thing. You're fighting this giant half-constructed enemy called a Reaper, and you have to attack these eyes, which are glowing orange. It's
Of
like
course.
instantly you know, oh, I'm going to shoot there. Yeah.
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 Well, even like those, I think we mentioned them on the show before, but like in the Power Rangers, which keeps coming up this season because a lot of people keep comparing this to Power.
Yeah.
But those guys, the putties, they just had like little things in their chest, that were like a pea on them to
Yeah.
punch the pea. It's like,
Yeah.
what?
Punch the pea and their arms and legs will just fly off.
Yeah, it's like a crash test dummy or something.
Yeah. This is such a bad flaw in his design. Like, it shouldn't come out that easily, but I'll tell you one thing I do like. There's a bit of realism to the kick that they do to get the tube out of his head, because they kind of fumble it a bit. They don't
Yeah.
quite get it first time. They're like, which I think makes it more real. Whereas a modern movie, they'd do something super cool.
It'll be like a batarang bounce. They'll throw it at the wall and it bounces back
Yeah.
into the
A whole
tube.
a whole Rube Goldberg device that ends
Yeah,
with
yeah.
a pair of scissors sticking out and cutting it.
Now, if they go to those lengths, okay, I'm flipping around. I'm supporting that.
Well, to be fair, we've said many times, noted hack Chris Nolan, he does kind of do the same thing in his Bane defeat. I don't know a lot. Well, not the way that Bane gets like properly defeated, because he just gets shot by Catwoman. That's how he gets literally blasted out of the movie.
After shrinking in size, yeah.
But he does a thing where like it's not as overtly obvious as this, because like this is like, Robin's fought this guy before. Why didn't you just go for the tube the first time if you know that's what you have to do? Like, come on,
He's only
kid.
just figured it out.
But of course, in Dark Knight Rises, the big rematch, there is a bit where Batman realizes, you can kind of see him going, I need to hit him in this thing in his face, and eventually he does like he gets a gauntlet up and it rips out a little thing of Bane's, and he goes like, you hear the gas and him going, ah, and then he just goes back into pummeling him, and that's one of the things. That's like the opposite side, because I've talked to people, they're like, yeah, they don't really use the whole Venom thing, and I was like, well, there's that bit at the end.
Yeah.
And they're like, what? And I was like, no, there's a bit where you can see like that weakens him when he rips out the tube. And it's like, what are you talking about? It's like, no, that's in the movie. Like, I promise you it's there, but you have to be really like watching it.
You are right, to be fair to you. It is in there.
Yeah,
Just
and Chris
subtly.
Nolan just had to like, all right, I guess I better do the tube getting knocked out as well. But
He was like, how would Joel Schumacher handle this moment?
I mean, this whole thing is just like, all right, so Bane, from what I understand, is a hulking guy who is basically the bottom to this lady who's the real villain, right? It's like, yep, that is what Bane is, Chris. At least in Batman and Robin, he was.
We'd all bottom for Uma Thurman's Poison Ivy. It's fine.
Oh, totally. But should also note too that seeing that this Bane defeat, of course, we had Mitch Bryan on, who wrote the episode Bane for the animated series.
Oh.
And do you guys have you seen that episode? Do you remember Bane's defeat? Because it's like one of the highlights of that episode.
I'm trying to remember. I know I've seen it.
Yeah. There was that one Sunday we just had Batman the animated series on and took like several naps.
Yeah.
So we probably watched it.
So that's a good Sunday. But
Yeah.
but no, basically because Mitch, like, he told us at the time, the whole team had no regard for Bane. Like, he's just there because it was the time Nightfall was coming out, and they're told, you have to put this character in. And so they're like, oh my god. And you can kind of tell by the end, because like he lifts Batman over him to do the back slam over his knee, and Batman just does the thing where you're like, oh yeah, why didn't he do that before? Because Bane has the controls for the Venom on his wrist, so he just takes out his Batarang, jams it into the thing, and then it starts to overload into Bane's system. So he starts to do like the opposite of this Bane, where he just starts to get like insanely overinflated, and it's both kind of horrific and like very funny at the same time, because he's probably going like, "No, you can't do this to me. I am Bane." Like his little, the goggles or whatever on his mask, like they pop out because his eyes are swelling up so much.
Oh,
and it's really like, holy, it's funny, but it's also like, Jesus Christ, stop it as well. And then eventually he does, like, Batman comes, and he has to put a bit of effort into ripping out the tube out of the back of his head to get it to stop. And then Bane literally deflates, much like this. All Venom seeps out of him, and he's a kind of, but at the same time, he's still quite muscular because Bane's not all Venom. He is a guy who was ripped, but the Venom enhances what's already there and stuff. But
I also like the coin flip plot device of, if I throw a Batarang into the thing, is it going to make it stop working or work more?
Whatever helps the situation for Batman.
Right. It's the same thing with door panels. It's like you just jam a knife in the door panel, and it's either going to make the door open or stop opening.
50-50 chance.
Yeah.
I kind of wish they had. I know this seems to have, like, we don't really want Bane here either. We just need to get rid of him now. So we just put in a very simple way to get that character dealt with. But I wish they had done the kind of thing of, because this is like the year after, or maybe the same year of the Nutty Professor with Eddie Murphy. And that obviously had, at the end, he's like, Buddy Love is like letting half of him inflate so he can show people how the potion works. If people don't know that movie, Eddie Murphy's in a, he's very overweight professor, drinks a tonic, it slims him down, but he can go back and forth and stuff.
There were far too many of those movies. I feel like that movie got 3 sequels.
So we're going to do Nutty Professor Minute after this.
Could be, you never know, April Fools.
I think with as goofy as this movie is, they could have gotten away with him flying around the room like a balloon deflating.
Yeah.
You could do that, or just have like half of him's like scrawny and half of him's overinflated, and have the whole the systems going crazy and make it a big special effects showcase.
What kind what kind of withdrawal symptoms is this guy going to go through now?
Oh yeah, that's a good point. Because
they leave him to die.
Yeah.
So... We'll get to that in like the following minutes, but I don't know that he ever has to deal with those withdrawals, quite frankly.
Well, I was thinking similar to that as well. Like, are there no other ill effects? Wouldn't his skin be like super baggy, like those dogs that you see, with the weird faces? He'd just be like a big sagging bag of flesh.
Although that's weird you say that, John. Did you, knowing what's in the draft for the Bane defeat, I was wondering if you were alluding to what's there as well.
Right, I've written down a whole bunch of stuff from the draft. Oh, right, yeah, I've just scrolled down to the bit I've took a note on. No, that wasn't a deliberate reference to... We'll get to that. Oh, my God, because I've got a whole massive chunk from the draft that I was going to read at the end.
Oh, you might as well go on and tear into it, because we're at that bit now, I suppose.
Okay, we can just go back to the notes. Basically, there's some good stuff, I think. This scene in the draft, there's some extra things that for once isn't terrible. Most of the stuff in the draft is awful, but basically during this, Batman says to Freeze, "You're losing your cool," which that's amazing. Ooh. And Freeze goes, "I think not. There'll be no hot time in this old town tonight." I'll bet you know that well. And then he pulls out a remote and says, "You'll get a charge out of this." And he charges the telescope to explode. Blah blah blah. We'll cut through all that. It's nonsense. But then. Right, then Batgirl says to Robin about Bane, "I've got him," referencing the thing before where they caught each other. And Robin says, "No, I've got him. Robin's going to take the lead on the fight." And then This is the bit now. This is the bit. It says, when he pulls the tube out, Bane hits the snow, because they're outside, writhing as the venom effect is reversed. His muscles shrink, his form diminishing until he is again a scrawny prisoner, struggling in the folds of his costume. And then Robin, you should get that suit taken in. No one's buying baggy anymore.
Oh.
Also, is that true? I know baggy's a bit more earlier 90s, but still, like, baggy was still a thing here, right?
I feel like baggy was really hitting its stride at this point.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
maybe
remember
that's the
early
thing.
2000s
Maybe it's not
baggy.
cool anymore to the kids. That's the thing.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know, man.
When did this movie come out?
97.
90 Yeah.
Yeah, so now, at that point, it's not hip and cool for baggy. Now everyone's wearing baggy.
I
So
feel like
Robin
this was
doesn't
the
wanna do so.
baggiest my pants ever got. was at
Yeah,
point
this
in
was
time.
just before tight flare jeans, low rise came in.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, this was the era of skateboarding that we refer to as tiny wheels, big pants.
yeah.
And then once you hit like 2000, that's when I really start rocking the baggy. I'm
Oh,
wearing those
oh, yeah,
Jinkos.
Yeah, I got my first pair of Jenkos in 2000, I think.
Yeah, same. I had them in a metallic color. They were a metallic blue.
I remember flare jeans came back in a big way
Yeah.
too in the early
Yep.
2000s, where it was just like it literally looked like street cleaners. Like they're so big, the bell bottoms.
They were. And then like because none of us wore belts, the jeans would hang below our shoes and get this like awful dirty triangle situation.
Yeah.
And,
That was part of the
hem would
look,
get
though.
Yeah, it was part of the look. And my mom would say, "Why don't you let me hem those?" I'd say, "Because that's not cool, Mom."
I remember cutting the hems off after
Yep.
getting a pair of Jenkos.
Yeah.
Like
Because
just
you
get
want
rid-
them to go all messy and frayed. And
Right,
Mhm.
yeah.
Although to go back there, John, another thing you said in there enraged me when I came across this.
Is it the "Don't worry, I've got him"?
No. Well,
No.
well, one thing is the I've got him, no, I've got him, because that was very romantic the first time. It makes them seem more like a brother and sister that time, that they're squabbling about it, like, no, I got him. Like,
That's when they realized their relationship was doomed, and they just saw each other as like, siblings.
yeah. But no, it was the fact that way back earlier in this movie, Freeze has that one bit where he blasts the Batmobile as it's jumping over the building to get to him, and he goes, "It's a cold town."
Oh, yeah.
We had a whole thing about like, why doesn't he say it's gonna be a cold time on the hot town tonight? Because that was in the first two movies that they had, like, oh, it's gonna be a hot time on the old town tonight.
Yeah.
And Selena Kyle says it in Batman Returns. We noted in the script for Batman Forever that it was written in when the Riddler is destroying the Batcave. He was supposed to say it was going to be a hot time in the old town tonight. They cut it out there, and we're like, oh, it's weird that they didn't work it in. It's such an obvious joke to put into this movie. Find out now, it was in the movie.
Yeah.
And they took it out.
That's the bit I was referring to as good. I personally think it would have been good in there. Any references to the old one? Hell yes.
That's
bring
what
it
I'm
on.
thinking. Is it the Joel Schumacher? Both times he's like, I don't want any allusions to Tim Burton's movies. I want it to be, I have my own recurring jokes with the butt shots and that kind of stuff, and the chicks dig the car.
To
and
be
all
honest,
that kind
I get it. Like, although I would like to see it, I understand. He probably doesn't want to draw comparison either because it's a very different film.
Oh yeah.
But it's like a cute little joke to keep going. I thought that was like, yeah, there's always reference that one song for whatever reason. But the fact that the Akiva Goldsman was going to bat, as it were, to be like, I'm gonna get it in, and then like, no, it's getting snipped out, man.
Well, we get a bit that's, like poetry. It rhymes, etc. Because we saw Bane choking people. Now Freeze chokes the bat.
Mm.
And then Batman comes up with quite a genius plan, I think.
Yeah.
He slaps one of those little cooling disc things right onto Victor's suit. Bam.
Oh, or heating discs,
Yeah,
as they
it's-
would do.
I meant
some
to
kind
say
of
heating.
heating.
Why did I say cooling? I meant to say heating disc. God damn it. My brain doesn't work. Yes.
I'd like to imagine it's one of those plastic what are those things called? Hot hands?
Yeah, those things
Yeah.
that you sometimes get with a pair of gloves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you kind of like rub it together and it like heats up. You put it in your pocket.
Yeah, my sister used to have those because she's got this condition where basically her extremities are always freezing.
Mm.
So
Whoa.
the doctor gave her like loads of those and special gloves and things. I was going to say they're cool. No, they're not. They're warm. But,
It is. It's a nice little moment though. Batman. There's a little bit of ingenuity. Like, oh yeah, all I need to do is put on this thing, I guess, because it's like I should have done this like 20 minutes ago. I would have saved myself a whole fight.
But I love that though, because it's realistic to me in that, that's not what they're for. So it never occurred to him until he's mid-fight, like, wait a minute, I've got this thing.
Yeah.
And it just immediately like incapacitates Freeze. It just like screws him up straight away, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Batman has way too many gadgets in this movie that only serve one purpose. And he discovers what that purpose is in the moment.
Like the ice skates.
The ice skates. I know you guys, there's no way you haven't already talked about the ice skates to death, but it was the moment in my life where my suspension of disbelief was shattered for the first time.
That's
I was like, why would he have those? What?
There's a scene in Sailor Moon where a similar thing happens. She's fighting this enemy on the ice and realizes ice skates can come out of her boots, and she never uses them again.
Where does he store them? Where do they live inside his boots? There's too many
Yeah.
stupid things about it.
It's T1000 liquid metal technology.
Oh, of course,
they
yeah.
just morph into. That makes something though. You're saying like, oh, he only ever uses the gadgets once. If he forgot about the heater thing, he remembers the skate, and he's like, "Hey, Freeze, the heat is on." Whips off his boot, takes out an ice skate, and just slashes his throat.
Like
It's
imagine he's, I don't know, driving the Batmobile, and the trigger to hit the ice skates is malfunctioning. He accidentally hits it, and then it goes through the pedal, and it messes up the car.
Oh, he's ruined the whole thing. Alfred has to fix it again. Oh.
Like, how often did those accidentally go off?
I
Is
do
my
like
question.
the line "the heat is on."
Yeah.
It's a missed opportunity that they didn't use that Glenn Frey song anywhere in this movie.
Just have it subtly in the background.
I think that was the single. Weirdly enough, that was the spin-off single. The second spin-off single to Beverly Hills Cop, because
Yes.
obviously you have Axel F. And then
Yeah.
Glenn Frey, "The Heat Is On," which I think that was one of the legends of Beverly Hills Cop, is that like it was originally supposed to be Stallone, but I think they also went to Arnie as well. They went through like everybody until eventually they went like, this Eddie Murphy guy will do, I guess. And second mention of Eddie Murphy this minute for whatever reason. But that could be something like that's why he says it to Garney. He's like, I should never have missed that part.
I always
hate
play.
that song.
I always play that song every year. The first day we turn the heater on
Yeah.
in the house,
Hey.
just blast it throughout the whole house.
I think you played it that one time where we didn't have power for several days.
Yeah, it was like a really cold time of year. We lost power, and then the second the power came back on, just
And then you let that run for several days on.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's so amazing timing. It's like, brilliant. They couldn't have
Yeah.
planned that any better.
We should try to find that on 45.
So then when
The
the
record?
power goes out, we turn the record player on and then leave the needle
Yeah.
on the record. So that's how we know the power comes back on. I like your thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah. Should also mention though, for the purposes of everything's connected, I also remember Beverly Hills Cop a lot for that scene where they're in the strip club and Vanity's "Nasty Girl" is a song on the soundtrack playing in the background. Of course, that song was written by Prince. Who, of course, we've spent a lot of time talking about Prince.
There you go.
I think we should review music written by Prince.
Like all
There's
the
a
movies
lot.
that Vanity has been in.
I recently found out he wrote Manic Monday, that Bangles song.
Oh yeah,
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That Nothing Compares to You. That's another one
Yeah.
of his as well.
He may have been dating Susanna Hoffs at the time. It's unclear.
Prince has dated everyone,
Yeah.
including me, including you.
Well, I feel left out. I don't think I've ever dated Prince.
I think it's part of when you listen to Prince's music, you're dating him. Like,
It,
that's,
it feels like you. Yeah, it feels like
Yeah.
you've just woken up from a night with Prince. Let me tell you.
yeah.
In fact, especially if you put on one of his more. I was going to say more modern songs, but it's been a few years now, called Breakfast Can Wait.
Oh.
It,
wonder what
it's
that's
what it
Prince
sounds
clearly
like.
hasn't slept with me. He's like, no, as soon as we wake up, Prince. Breakfast cannot wait. Should of course, you also did date Kim Basinger
Yeah.
just after '89 came out as well. So that is very true. That like they always say that "Scandalous" the song, the uncut version, has her genuine moans from them
Oh,
canoodling
no.
in the.
That is such
in
a
the
Prince
studio.
move, even if it's not true, just to say that.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm going to look into what movies was Vanity in. Maybe we can do that in the hiatus as well.
Hey, Vanity's been in at least one movie we've not talked about, so there you go. There's at least one bonus episode.
Yeah.
But in this, Batman, I'm just going to say, he just wallops Freeze right over the barricade, and he falls into... What is this?
Oh, this is the freezing engine.
Well, that's the
That
thing.
was-
But what is it? It looks like a pile of diamonds, and it explodes for some reason.
The fall is really funny. It looks like someone dropped an action figure of Arnold and they played it. They played it back slowly.
Yeah.
That's probably close to the truth. That's why.
We'll talk
Like
about
it doesn't
next
look like there's anyone in the suit. When it's
No,
falling.
no.
But no, I think we did see this. I only remember this because I just edited the episode. But when he comes in, yeah, there's this big, inexplicable, crystal maze-looking table of diamonds, and he puts the freezing engine in the center of it.
So it
'Cause
is the
apparently, it just
diamond.
happened to have a handy hub where you could plug in his freezing engine.
So why does it explode?
You bump into things, they explode.
Yeah, just sparks shoot out. There's
He's probably not hiring the best electrical technicians.
Oh, that's true. That's true. He should be going to some. You got to hire a union.
Yeah.
I think Wayne Enterprises, no unions. Should note as well, though, because we talked about Bane's defeat there in the animated series. Would be remiss if I didn't mention the beloved Heart of Ice episode.
Oh, that
how
episode
the
is
mighty
great.
Mr. Freeze is defeated in that, where earlier in because Batman's getting a bit of a cold from fighting Mr. Freeze. Alfred gives him a thermos of chicken soup, which Batman just keeps on him. And then at the end, in the middle of the whole final confrontation, Mr. Freeze is holding up Batman, strangling him. Batman takes out the soup, just smashes it over the Mr. Freeze's dome.
Should
like
have been
a glass dome.
Vichyssoise.
Oh, that'd been. If it was Vichyssoise, though, it wouldn't have worked because the heat from the soup, interacts with the cold of the inside the glass.
Yeah, but
and
Bruce likes
causes-
it warm.
Oh, that's the thing.
Well, no. To be fair, he accepts it. He goes, okay, fine, doesn't he?
Yeah,
Hmm.
although maybe it could have been next time. Like, always heat up the Vichyssoise. Like, but it's not Vichyssoise. I heat it up. I said. That would have been a good thing, though, if they had actually had earlier he's like, I want you to heat up my Vichyssoise, Alfred. Like, okay, well, I don't understand why that would be any good, sir. And then that's what happened because the heat from the soup reacts with the cold of the glass, causing the glass to shatter, and Mr. Freeze is then exposed, and he's like, and falls down. And that's the end of him. But yeah, it just always kind of amuses me because that is a impeccable episode. But it's just it's just a bit funny that Mr. Freeze taken down by a thermos of soup because that's sometimes you just have to be a bit more clever with how you take down the villain.
I hosted a mini series for the Dueling Genre Patreon, not to plug our own Patreon on your show here, but we had to talk about that episode, and we were deep in quarantine when we recorded it, and the scenes of Bruce having a cold in public just triggered my fight or flight response.
Yeah.
Like just sneezing out in the open at a board meeting. It's like, God damn it, will you just go home?
Go home. I was thinking, yeah. And you think of all the times your mom sent you to school where you had the sniffles. Like,
Yeah.
oh no.
Yeah, that's an act of war now.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm constantly getting it now. When I get someone's invited me around, they're like, oh, by the way, I do have a bit of a cold. I've been tested. It's come back negative, but just so you know. But it's just like, yeah, but I don't want the cold either. And I don't want the paranoia of being like, well, you were tested, but how do I know for sure? Like,
I don't have an immune system anymore. So like, that's not going to fly.
Yeah.
Speaking of flying, though, should add in as well that the novelization does add in a alternate defeat for Mr. Freeze, which to be fair, I don't know if it's better. I think it ties into something mentioned earlier in the book that Michael Jan Friedman, when he was on, actually talked about. He mentioned that the thing he was the most proud of in the book was that he had a scene with young Bruce Wayne meeting young Victor Freeze when he's the decathlete, and he's amazing at the long jump apparently. And Bruce is like, how do you do that though? Like when you do the long jump, you go for so far. How do you do it? And Freeze says like, well, when I'm up there, I just sort of hang, and I don't let myself come down. I just sort of like he goes in the whole thing about like, yeah, I just sort of hang there and wait. And then eventually I make it. Like, I just don't allow myself to land. And I'm like, I don't. But Michael Jan Friedman was like, I'm the most proud of that. I'm like, I don't get that, but okay. And then, yeah, at the end of this, the fight actually has Batman dangling at the end of the telescope, which is sort of at an angle, a downward trajectory. He says to the two scientists, like, is there any way out of this? And they have a lever next to them, which they pull, and it flips the telescope up. Batman, jumps up through the air, does Batman, cape spread thing. It has to get through the little crack to get to Mr. Freeze. And it says, I've got it here, it says, as he's approaching this opening, he's only got a few inches to get in. Then he remembered something someone had taught him once. A young athlete with his perfect life stretched out ahead of him had shared with him his secret strategy for the long jump, a strategy that had won him the decathlon at the Olympic Games. I don't land, he had said. I just hang there. Batman concentrated on that. He focused on it as hard as he had focused on anything in his life. And just as that young athlete had recommended, he didn't land. He just hung there, and then hung there some more. Long enough to make it through the slot and come down on top of the man who had given him that advice. And so he clashes into Freeze, sends him flying off into the freezing engine and stuff. And it's like, I appreciate that. Like, yeah, it's harkening back to a thing at the start of the book, and it's Mr. Freeze is kind of ironically the architect of his own defeat. But I don't get it. Like, you can't do that. Like, you can't just jump up and then go, I'm not going to come down.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's the secret to the long jump? It's like, I just jump real far.
Yeah.
Secret is I can fly.
Yeah.
It's simple, people. If you're not succeeding at the long jump and the high jump and all that, you're useless.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think, to be fair, Michael Jan Friedman has improved this, through his novelization, improved a lot of things in the book. I think the heat is on and slapping on the thing was kind of the best option, really. Like, it just, particularly Arnie's expression too, because he has the real thing of like, oh, he instantly knows what's happening, and he's just like, well, that's the end of me.
Well, it seems to stop him in a split second. He doesn't even pull it off.
That's kind of weird. He doesn't try, but I guess he got other things on his mind. But yeah, that's all the notes I got for minute 109. Does anyone else have anything to throw in the docket for this?
Nope, I don't think so.
I'm good.
Noted out. We will head off then into the dark, dark night. Would our wonderful guests like to plug their show or promote anything you like? Yourselves.
Well, I'm really proud of myself these days.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. We
Us
are
as well.
working on I don't know, are we allowed to talk about
We
it?
are allowed to talk about it.
Okay. We're working on a show called Screenplay. It's sort of a takeoff of From Up From Below that we did last year.
With TMNT Minute,
With
where we
TMNT
played the
Minute.
Palladium tabletop game.
Yes, and in this one we will be playing through Ghostbusters.
Yeah. So West End Games, who are famous for their Star Wars game mechanics, came out with a Ghostbusters game mechanic that we're going to play through.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
We
And
don't
just
know.
hear
Go ahead.
Dave Palace having a seizure, just like, what?
Yeah.
We don't know when it's coming out. We're still recording, but hopefully we'll be releasing episodes fairly soon.
And our game master took it to some really surprising places really early on, and it's just a treat. It's so much fun.
Well, I'm going to be checking that out. And as Niall says, I mean, you've got another listener there. Dave Palace will be listening. Former guest of our show. He'll definitely be tuning in.
This man is a Ghostbusters and tabletop game obsessive, so it's like,
Well,
the
we've got a
dream
show for
project.
him.
Yeah.
So everybody check that out. And
You can find me every Wednesday on Tales from the Short Box. We talk about the comics that came out last week. We've been talking about a lot of Batman stuff lately. Batman's kind of hot right now.
Yeah.
Because we had the 89 comic. We're also covering ourselves as well.
Oh, there
I don't know
you
if you
go.
guys have touched on that much.
I think we talked about the first issue, but kind of fell off. If I
Ooh,
remember
you
correctly.
need to get on it. It's good stuff.
I
Well,
think we
say
might
it's
save
good,
that.
but
We do a Patreon show called Now in Trade where we kind of binge through stuff. So that's
That's
got a
how
good
we do it
candidate for that.
But yeah, check all of those out, everybody. And of course, the TMNT minute that we've mentioned. And speak to us as usual. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Just look us up on there. I can't be bothered today. We're raring to get to Wednesday so we can do more of this. So screw it. Just look us up and join us again. Yes, on Wednesday for more exciting Bat-Minute action.
Next time, hasta la vista, Batman. With a nefarious Nanook been dealt a knockout right hook and left to let off some steam, the city savior sublimates the sun and sprays an awesome solar beam. The cool-headed crusader's scheme runs smoother than we can believe, but could a certain slippery scoundrel still have an icy ace up his sleeve? It's bombs away on Wednesday, Batmites. Same Bat Pod, different Bat Minute.
We'll be back.